on Elisha. And for most of you, I promise you're going to hear Bible stories you've never heard before. So we'll start off. So remember last week we closed it with the story of the iron axe head sinking in the Jordan River. Elisha says, "Where did it sink?" And then he throws a stick there, and then whoop, the iron axe head suddenly floats. The guy who had borrowed the axe goes and retrieves it, and he's so thankful. And I said I never knew what to do if I ever preached on that. Well, now the scene is going to shift to international affairs. We're going to see a series of conflicts between the Armenians. Remember, Aram is modern day Syria, and between the king of the Israelites, the king of Aram, and then Elisha is going to be in the middle. So really, most of the stories we're going to look at in the rest of the Elisha cycle are going to be on more of an international stage, and is going to involve Elisha and royal power. So once when the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he took counsel with his officers. He said, "At such and such a place shall my camp." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, "Take care not to pass this place, because the Arameans are going down there." The king of Israel sent word to the place of which the man of God spoke. And more than once or twice, Elisha warned such a place so that Israel was on the alert. So now we've got the involvement of Elisha, the king of Aram, and the king of Israel. That recalls right back where we spent a lot of time last time with the story of Nahum, the general of the king of Aram. And the king of Aram sent a letter to the king of Israel, and then Elisha gets involved. Only that scene was a scene of shalom, a scene of peace. Now we're getting a scene of war. So even though Elisha is at some distance from the king of Aram, Elisha discerns where the king of Aram plans to make camp with his warriors. And so for the very first time, a king of Israel listens and obeys Elisha. Elisha says, "Don't go over by that place, because that's where the king of Aram and his troops are settled." So later we'll discover that this king of Israel is King Jehoram. We saw him last week when he was fighting the Moabites. He's King Ahab's son. But now, for the first time, a king who is a descendant of Ahab is listening to Elisha. So the Israelites don't go where the Arameans are camped. The mind of the king of Aram was greatly perturbed because of this. He called his officers and said to them, "Now tell me, who among us sides with the king of Israel?" Then one of his officers said, "No one, my lord king. It's Elisha, the prophet in Israel, who tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." The king said, "Go and see where he is. I'll send and seize him." The king was told, "He's in Dothan." So the king sent horses and chariots there and a great army. They came by night and surrounded the city. So the king of Aram is upset because the Israelites know his plans ahead of time. So he naturally assumes there's a mole in the royal court of the Arameans. But one of his officers tells him, no, it's not one of us. Elisha is so tuned in to the king and what the king plans, he's able to know what the king of Aram says in his bedroom. Again, like with our bedrooms, for us, that's a very, very private place, not a public place. But Elisha can so discern. He can even know what the king of Aram says in his bedroom. And then Elijah, of course, passes that information on to the king of Israel. So the king of Aram sets out on another plan. He decides the only way to plug the leak of information is to seize the informer, Elisha. So when he finds out where Elisha is in Dothan, the king sends horses and chariots and a large army to seize Elisha. And under the cover of darkness, the Aramean strike force surrounds the city of Dothan where Elisha is. This is the exact opposite of the large Aramean show of force that accompanied Nathan when he sought out Elisha for healing. In that case, again, it was a matter of shalom, of peace, of restoration and healing. Here, they're on a mission to seize Elisha because Elisha is leaking information about the Arameans' plans. When an attendant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. His servant said, "Alas, master, what shall we do?" Elisha replied, "Don't be afraid, for there are more of us than there are more of them." So the next morning, servant of Elisha naturally panics. Why? He sees the Aramean strike force surrounding the city. So it's clear he and Elisha are in an absolutely hopeless situation. And yet, in striking contrast to the servant's panic, Elisha calmly reassures his servant. He says, "Don't be afraid, because they outnumber the Arameans." Now, on the surface, Elisha's math seems to be out of touch with reality, as he and his servant are greatly outnumbered by the Arameans. So essentially, it's 2 Israelites versus a foreign army, which includes horses and chariots. Oh my. Then Elisha prayed, "Oh Yahweh, please open his eyes that he may see." So Yahweh opened the eyes of the servant, and he saw. And the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. When the Arameans came against Elisha, Elisha prayed to Yahweh and said, "Strike this people, please, with blindness." So Yahweh struck them with blindness, as Elisha had asked. Elisha said to the Arameans, "This is not the way. This isn't the city. Follow me. I'll bring you to the man whom you seek." And Elisha led the Arameans to Samaria. So Elisha now does what he did when he was confronted with the dead son of the Shunammite woman. He prays to Yahweh. That's his key weapon. And in this case, Elisha first asks Yahweh to open the eyes of his servant so that he can see what Elisha already perceives. When Yahweh opens or answers Elisha's prayer, he opens the eyes of the servant. The servant is able to see the divine reality. And the divine reality, it's a mountain full of fiery horses and chariots that are encircling Elisha. So the Aramean army is surrounding the city, but surrounding them, fiery chariots and horses that Yahweh has sent. Then in a reverse prayer, okay, so now he's going to pray the opposite. Elisha asks Yahweh to blind the eyes of the Aramean force that's come against him. So Elisha's first prayer, open the eyes of my servant so he can see the fiery horses and chariots. Then he prays, blind the Arameans who have come against him. And so again, Yahweh complies. So just as Yahweh opened the eyes of the servant, now Yahweh strikes the Aramean force with blindness. So ironically, Elisha now leads the enemy force to Samaria. And remember, Samaria is the capital of Israel. The Arameans are so blind. One, they don't recognize who Elisha is. I mean, they've come to seize Elijah. They're blind. They can't see who he is. And they can't proceed on their own. So now Elisha leads them. So just geographically, there's Dothan just above the Jezreel Valley. About less than 20 miles away is Samaria. So just think of this in your mind's eye. You've got the Aramean army with horses and chariots. They're blind. So now just Elisha by himself, just come on, we're going this way. Come on, come on, come on. And he leads them right into the capital of Israel. As soon as they entered Samaria, Elisha said, "Oh Yahweh, open the eyes of these men so that they may see." Yahweh opened the Arameans' eyes. They saw that they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he said to Elijah, "Father, shall I kill him? Shall I kill him?" So once again, Elisha offers a reverse prayer to Yahweh. So before he had asked Yahweh, blind the Aramean army. Now he says, "Yahweh, please open their eyes." And when Yahweh opens their eyes in answer to Elisha's prayer, the Arameans realize Elisha has entrapped them inside Israel's capital city. I mean, it's like suddenly the Arameans, we can see. Oh, crap. Oh, no. When the king of Israel sees the trapped Aramean army, he seems anxious to eliminate his enemies. He excitedly asks Elijah if we should kill him.